Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, thank you one more time. I'm meteorologist Leonard Josiah with a look at your live streaming event of Tropical Storm Jerry for this afternoon. You know, we had one or two little technical issues that we had to work through, and I want to just say thank you to all those individuals who have made this live stream available. Today is our inaugural stream, and this is part of the World Meteorological Organization's initiative, what we call early warning, just to make sure that you are prepared with the latest information. And we are here this afternoon, at least to start you off. This stream will not necessarily go too long into the evening, but we're going to be trying to impart to you the latest information that you can go on into so that you can be prepared. Take a look at this shot behind of me. We're looking at Tropical Storm Jerry this afternoon. It remains in what we call a shared environment. So it's not necessarily organized for right now. It's rather ragged looking, and by the shot you're seeing right here, you're seeing the island chain. Let me first point out where Antigua and the rest of the Leeward Islands they are. We're looking at Antigua right here, you're looking at Barbuda right here, Montserrat, you're looking at St. Kitts Nevis, you're looking at Anguilla, the British Virgin Islands right there. Guadeloupe is showing up pretty nicely right here, Dominica, then Martinique, then St. Lucia. Now all this white clouds that you're seeing right here is really the system and the cloudiness that has been sheared off by the towards the north because of the fast moving pace that is moving along with the upper level winds that is driving it towards the south. Really and truly, this is not necessarily a great environment to be in, and we are so thankful that this environment does exist today, because we would have been looking at a stronger system. We were looking at something in the region of a minimal hurricane by the time it was passing towards the east. But take a look at what is at. So this afternoon you're taking a look at a swirl right here. Now this swirl is where the center of Tropical Storm Jerry now is, and all of this cloud is actually trying to catch up with the center. Now during the past couple of days, the convection, what we call pulses, in the daytime hours you see it like this and gets weaker, but in the night it flares up so significantly around, and hence the reason why we are saying that we're not necessarily out of the woods when it comes to the rainfall. This is really turning out to be the potential for a rain event. So we're still hoping and trusting that at least we get the rain. But let's talk a little bit more about where it's at as of 5 p.m. this afternoon. Well, at 5 p.m. located at 17.3 degrees north, 60.6 degrees west. That is just about, let's say, 70 miles or so towards the east northeast or east of Antigua. It's going to be a little bit more closer to Barbuda. It's racing towards the west to northwest at 18 miles an hour, and the winds are just about 65 miles an hour with the pressure at 1001 millibars. Now let's talk a little bit more about that. And by the way, if you want to send us a little question or two, we can facilitate your questioning. Just let us know in the chat what are you wanting to know exactly, and we'll try to see how best we can accommodate those questions. So for right now, let's talk a little bit more about the structure. So you're looking at where it's at right now. This line of convection right here is flaring up right now. It is hopeful that this convection at least will hold itself together to give us the much needed rainfall. It is moving out towards the west-northwest, but a little bit more so towards the northwest. Now, here is the thing about it. That is certainly great news. It's even better news from this morning, better news from this afternoon at 2 p.m. Now the center is tracking a little further away from the islands, which would mean that the winds that are out here, now the winds are so far displaced from the center of location. So even though we are somewhat closer to the center right here, the winds on the western side are just very, very weak. So hence the reason why if you're on the outside right now, you're not feeling much of the wind, because there's hardly any wind to the western part of the center. And this is certainly good news. Now, initially, we had thought that it would have tracked a little bit more closer to Barbuda. In fact, the 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. advisory would have suggested that we would have been looking at a track where Barbuda would have been engulfed in a little bit more of the wind. But for right now, because the track has shifted a little bit away from Barbuda, we are saying that all the totals are now trending downward, with the potential and the possibility and the probability for tropical storm force winds in Barbuda. Now, that is certainly good news. So you're looking at this system right now. All the winds, you're seeing how fast these clouds are moving right there. The clouds are moving very fast right here because the winds are far displaced from the center out here. So all these winds are actually moving around the island chain, while those individuals in the Leeward Islands, we are in the sheltered side of the storm, and we are not necessarily getting the winds right now. So we are not forecasting that those tropical storm force winds will come across Antigua and Barbuda. However, in the midst of some of the rain bands likely passing by tonight, we could certainly get a gust or two. That is certainly manageable, but the sustained winds for right now is really, well, let's say it this way, the chances of sustained winds that's blowing for a minute or more at 40 miles an hour or more, that is no longer a significant threat to us in Antigua. The numbers are trending down, and for individuals in Barbuda and Anguilla also, those numbers are trending down. But yet still, right now, there are a few tropical storm watches or warnings for. Here is the the technical things do to us, but nonetheless we are here to basically serve you, Ben. We want to make sure that you have the right information. Thanks a lot for any individual who have stayed with us. And we know there's a few questions while we are on the break. We noted a few questions, and we are saying to you that yeah, these glitches, we sincerely apologize. So let's pick right up and let's go straight on to give you the pertinent information. We're looking at this graphic right behind us right now. You're looking at storm watches or warnings. You're looking at where the storm watches or warnings are. This is where the center is someplace located, and you can see how close the center is located to the islands. We're looking at a storm watch in place for Antigua. We're looking at a storm watch in place for Montserrat, even for St. Kitts and Nevis. There's a storm warning in place for Anguilla, a storm warning, by the way, in place for Guadeloupe. There is no watch or warning in place for the British Virgin Islands, but there is an alert for them right now. So take a look at what we are seeing right here. So if you're in the island territories right now, you're looking at the Leeward Islands. We're looking at a few islands that do have a tropical storm warnings, and you do have a few islands who have a tropical storm watch for right now. Take a look at this graphic, and it is Tropical Storm Jerry's wind field estimate. Now, this is rather important so that you can understand what is really taking place. So over the last couple of days, we have noticed that the track continues towards the west to northwest. We are in the island territories right here. The blues are the warning spots. We're looking at those right now, and we are saying that where Antigua and Barbuda, we are right here. The St. Kitts and Nevis right here. Anguilla, you're here. The British Virgin Islands. Look at Puerto Rico. You're looking at Guadeloupe. We're looking at Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, and all the islands further towards the south. If you're in Trinidad and Tobago, no, you're not looking at any really significant impacts there. But Barbados, the cloud mass is very close to them right now, and we are getting some rainfall over them. But what I wanted to point you to is the wind field. Now, the wind field is very close here. You're seeing this yellow mark right here. Now, this wind field suggests where the storm winds generally are. You're taking a little bit of zinc right inside here, meaning that there's hardly any wind on this side. So as Tropical Storm Jerry makes its way towards the west to northwest, most of the winds are offshore. And offshore meaning that they would not necessarily impact us here in the island territories. Again, we are in your sheltered area, so you can go to sleep restful tonight, knowing that we are not forecasting any storm winds over our Twin Island state or the rest of the Leeward Islands and the British Virgin Islands. But nonetheless, it's significant at least us to point you out, to give you some perspective where those winds really are. But let's say this, but there is a caveat to it, that as we go on into the evening, as some of these spiral bands do take place, you can look out for some gusty conditions in the midst of some of those rain bands. As of 5 p.m. this afternoon, we are located right here in Antigua and Barbuda, and the track suggests that it will move on towards the north. We are not forecasting it to come across the islands. It's actually heading out to sea. So again, all of that means that the numbers are actually trending downwards, and as it moves on towards the west northwest and towards the north, and before swinging out to sea, yes, it will become a hurricane. Not to worry about that. That is going to be far out into the open waters. It will remain a tropical storm, and again, the island chain would not be impacted by a direct hit, albeit that most of the winds will be on the side away from Antigua and Barbuda and the rest of the Leeward Islands, and that's certainly great news. Now take a look at the probability for storm winds here in the Twin Island state. Now you're seeing that right here. Now this particular shot was as of 2 p.m. this afternoon, and the white here says where the storm center is. But again, you're seeing where the Leeward Islands we are right here. Antigua, Barbuda is even more closer. Antigua right there. Anguilla is in the yellow. But these numbers, because it has dragged itself a little bit far further away, the numbers are coming down. If you're in St. Kitts and Nevis, those numbers are low for right now, but again, no storm impacts. And again, we're looking at the British Virgin Islands. You are not in the zone of these particular winds. No storm impacts. Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, all of those islands further towards the west, nothing. But again, it's heading out to sea. If you're in Bermuda, you would certainly want to still pay close attention to this, because they are not out of the way. It's still a couple of days far removed from the passage of Jerry. If you're further towards the south, you are outside of this area, so you're sitting rather nicely for right now. So let's talk a little bit more about the wind impacts for the Leeward Islands and what we can expect. For us in Antigua, Barbuda, Montserrat, St. Kitts, Nevis, Anguilla, and the British Virgin Islands, it goes pretty much like this. We're not looking at any storm winds right now in Barbuda. Now, earlier on when we did this particular graphic, we were saying that there's a possibility that Barbuda could still get some storm winds in the sustained area. The chances have come down, but that is not to say that they can't for a minute or two get some puffs of wind up to storm force. But take a look at the gusts. They are certainly in the realm of some 50-mile-an-hour gusts. Antigua and Barbuda, we're not saying any storm conditions in the context of sustained winds, but gusts are very possible. Montserrat, you're further away. Nevis, you're looking at gusts in the region of 30 miles an hour. Anguilla, 35 miles an hour, possibly sustained with gusts up to 50 miles an hour. And there are no wind impacts slated for the British Virgin Islands. Rain impacts are a little bit more positive, at least for us here in our Twin Island state and the rest of the Leeward Islands. Take a look at Antigua and Barbuda, Montserrat, St. Kitts, Nevis, Anguilla, and the British Virgin Islands. We're looking at 1 to 4 inches of rain during the course of the passage, and we're saying to you that because of that rain band that is located to the east of the island, that's the rain band that we are focusing greatly on, because as it goes on into tonight, there's a possibility that some of that convection that we see waning right now can fire back up overnight, and it can be dragged closer to us. So this might even turn out to be conservative, but we're saying at least 1 to 4 inches in Antigua. Montserrat is 1 to 3, St. Kitts 1 to 3, Anguilla 1 to 4, and the British Virgin Islands, you're not going to be seeing too much of a rainfall, just up to about a half an inch of rainfall in the midst of what we call spiral banding activities. So in terms of that, we're looking forward to this. Now, here is the key. You would have asked, there was a question that has been asked whether or not we will be considering a flash flood watch or flash flood warning. Well, not a warning for now, not an advisory for now, but we are certainly considering the necessity of placing a flash flood watch at least out there going on to tonight. That is something that we are reviewing. The reason why we have not said that in a more definitive way is because of the ragged nature of the storm for right now. Most of those clouds are pushed forward to push down to the south. If it remain in that general type of environment, it's very likely that most of those clouds can wrap themselves and move around the Leeward Islands. However, as it moves on towards the west northwest, some of those clouds can begin to move towards the north. I will show you a picture about that. Marine impacts goes pretty much like this. We're still looking for some swells in the region. Some swells meaning that if you're particularly along the northern coastal areas, those seas are not necessarily going to be friendly for you. Still up in the midst of 5-foot swells, slightly higher in the marine impacts for Antigua and Barbuda. These might be conservative. Models are suggesting that they may be a bit higher, but yet still we are saying that some wind impacts would certainly generally be in the midst of the making. Now, I'm going back again just to show you what I'm talking about. Take a look at some of these clouds. This is the line of clouds that we are really monitoring right now. As it moves on, this cloud is forecast to move up. If it heads out to sea, these clouds will remain offshore. So going on into tonight, if you don't see any of the rain, it's because of the fact that this has pushed off. If it continues to drag towards the west to northwest, some of these clouds will begin to move closer to the island chain. Remember, at 5 p.m. this afternoon, we still continue to monitor its progress, and you can still send your questions or two so that we can see exactly how we can respond if you are in the island chain. All right then, so
Thank you.